In this video, we're going to look at some of the roles and duties in Parliament. The House of Commons is divided on two sides. We can see the government side and the opposition. The idea is that it's meant to be adversarial. The two rows of chairs are 2 sword lengths and 1 inch apart, which is sort of a relic from British tradition. But the idea is that the opposition is there to make sure the government does what they say they're going to do. And that's why many of the functions in Parliament are geared towards that dynamic, where there's a government side and an opposing side. There's some important terms that we need to be aware of if we want to understand how Parliament works. They include the caucus, the government versus the opposition, the cabinet versus the shadow cabinet, and then the backbench. These are all important concepts that help us understand how Parliament works. What is the caucus? Well, each party as a group is considered a caucus. They work together, they act together, and they will meet once a week. The image here is Justin Trudeau at his very first caucus meeting after being elected as the Liberal leader. During these meetings, there's a few things that need to happen. For one, they elect a caucus chair. The caucus chair is the person, usually a senior member of the party, and their job is to run this caucus meeting each week. They want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to air their grievances, but also that they all adhere to the same party line. There's also a House leader. The House leader, it's their job to represent each party. Each party will designate a House leader who coordinates with the other House leaders to make sure that everyone agrees on the schedule for the week, what items are going to come up for debate, when key votes will be held. Also, each party will have a party whip, and it's the whip's job to impose party discipline. In an adversarial system where there's a government and an opposition, it's important that all parties act together. That's called party discipline. The party whip's job is to count votes and make sure that everybody in the party votes together. There is also a cabinet. Now, the cabinet is on the government side, and they are the members of Parliament that are the Prime Minister's key advisors, but they are also representative of different government departments and agencies. So, for example, there will be a Minister of Health who's responsible for the health administration, a Minister of Defense that's responsible for national defense, and so on. The cabinet are accountable in Parliament. Here's how that looks. This is a typical seating plan of Parliament, where we can see the red side as the government and the blue side as the opposition. The front rows of the government side is where the cabinet will sit, along with the Prime Minister. And so every day they will be accountable. If something goes wrong in the health ministry, the Minister of Health will have to stand up and be accountable. Conversely, on the shadow cabinet, they will be the opposition's members who are there to critique the government side. So if there's a health minister, the shadow cabinet will have a health critic. They're kind of like playing defense. So every day in question period, they will get up and grill their counterparts on whether they're doing something or why they aren't doing something. The rest of the folks in the picture that aren't in the front benches are called backbenchers. Not a very creative name. In question period, there's not a lot of a role for them beyond standing up and clapping. They do have a lot to do on a day-to-day basis, but really they're just seat fillers. Now, question period. Question period is the period each day where the government must stand up and be accountable. So the opposition will get up, address their questions through the Speaker. So they will say, Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister failing Canadians? And then the Prime Minister will stand up and respond. Each party gets allocated a series of questions, and they will choose, depending on their priorities, what type of questions to ask. Just to recap, Parliament is adversarial. There's a government side and there's an opposition side. There's also, within that, there's a cabinet that controls the executive branch of the government, and there's a backbench who don't do a heck of a lot except clap during question period. One of the key principles for all the parties in Parliament is to stick together, and that's the importance of party discipline.